Okay. Good evening, all. And this is our 21st PC Open discussion. That's cool. Uh, Today's agenda is again Q&A. I have one question, follow-up question from the last week that I'll be talking about today. But before that, if we'll have any questions, we'll take them and then I'll talk about that maybe. Let's go through the normals. Here is how do you register using this link. Otherwise, anybody who is in this meeting and just want to be default attendee, just drop your name and email address in the chat and I'll add you in that list so that you don't have to register every week. For the first time, you'll have to go through that link and then you can let me know and I'll add you. So the only pending question that I had from the last week was from Tanya, and she's not here yet, about the file import or export over an API or a web service. So before I actually go there and we start seeing how we can actually code that in Business Central, if there are any questions, I'll first take them and then we'll go through a small demo of how we can achieve this with web services, so that if someone is not interested, they can drop from the meeting. So let me start from the top. Agrim, you have any questions for today?
No, sir.
Okay. Thanks. Jay Banerjee, you have any questions for today?
No, actually, not any question right now.
Sounds good. Keshav?
No, sir.
Okay. Manish?
Not for today.
Okay. And I see Satish. Satish, you have any questions for today?
At this moment, no.
Okay. Hey, Steve, you have any questions for today?
Hello. I have a small one, and
Yeah.
it relates to, do you have any thoughts on why Microsoft chose only certain fields to make available through the personalized feature? And I ask because the customers regularly say, oh, I want this field visible in this list page. It's not available via personalized, even though it's right there in the table. And I'm just wondering if there's a technical reason why those fields can't just be added through personalized, and why I have to do an extension just to add that one field to a list page, for example.
Okay, so there are two things. Anything, and let me log into my tenant. Anything that is available on the personalized mode is something which is already added in the page by design by Microsoft.
Right.
So like in table, if there are 100 fields, Microsoft don't add 100 fields in the page. They add certain fields, and if they think they are important, but even then they might be set to visible false. And using personalize, you can make them visible true.
And when I add a field to a page using personalized, is it simply doing visible false to visible true? That's the only change it's making?
Yes, if you are just talking about a field, or you can remove a
field. Correct.
Right?
Okay, got it. So in that case, that was my guess, that let's say there are 100 fields in the table. They didn't want to add 100 fields to a list page and set 90 of them to false, visible false. Okay,
right,
is that a performance issue, or is that just a maintenance hassle?
So there are two reasons that I think it happens. One is surely performance, because all these virtual fields, which we call as flow fields, if they are added in the page and even set to visible false, they will get calculated.
Right.
So that's the performance part. The other part is based on all these years, what Microsoft think is important. They do add it. And then there are certain fields which only require for processing, so they remain behind the scene.
Makes sense. Absolutely. Yep.
right?
Yeah.
But as in, I don't like this, but you can have your customer use design mode. But then the problem is that they can add 1,000 design time extensions in the tenant, which
Right.
then it'll be hard to manage. But when you go to design, you see everything, every field in the
Ah,
table.
so I haven't yet used design.
So
Okay.
design shows you
I've heard
everything.
of it.
Okay.
Okay.
So if I drag this field, which is ready to here, it's like personalization. But the only difference is that it will create an extension out of it rather than storing it as user change.
And so that's effectively the same as me doing an AL extension
Yes,
and adding the field to the page. Got it.
right. So if I do this and I say stop design, it'll ask me to the extension name.
Wow. Yep.
Okay.
Okay. So,
And
and so that is for every single page, there's going to be a separate extension.
no. So if you are in the design mode, you can modify multiple pages at the same time, and that will
Oh,
eventually create one extension.
oh, okay.
But
Okay, so
yeah,
that's an
they,
alternative. If a customer just wants one field on 3 different pages, they could use design rather than having to call me and me doing a custom extension.
yes, they can. But
Okay.
we need to understand kind of the impact of it is that they need to start using it as one-time basis. That okay, there is one extension like this.
Yep.
Because if they do it multiple time, what happens is eventually you'll see so many design time extension in the tenant, which doesn't impact your which you don't want to store in your source
Yep.
control because they are just design time, but it
Okay.
will make this screen so big that will be super confusing.
And if I create that design time extension today, and then
Yeah,
2 weeks later I want to add a new field, that,
you
can
can't.
I
That's
edit I can't edit the existing, it creates a new one.
yeah. So if you go
Yeah.
like this, as in you download the source code, you'll see a page
Yeah.
extension,
Yeah.
and you can modify this as a normal extension as you will do.
Got
But
it.
the
But
problem
not in
is,
design.
yeah, it will not override it. I
Yep.
am going to create a suggestion, but I think it's very hard to kind of even
Yeah.
work that way that Microsoft creates one design time extension per tenant.
Correct. Okay.
But I understand that's hard. you
Okay.
know.
And although we would probably like to think that these design extensions are quote supported and will upgrade, I'm guessing there is a chance that they could break with a future a BC release.
They can, and the reason is because the field that you are adding onto your page, if it depends on an extension other than Microsoft,
Right.
and if there is a change in that extension, then there is a chance of breaking that.
Right.
So if you see right now, it's only have a dependency on the base application because the field
Right.
that I was trying to add was from the base app.
Correct. Yep.
But yeah,
Okay.
if I'm trying to add a field from an extension, then this design time extension will also take a dependency on that.
Understood. Okay, cool. Excellent. Thank you.
Okay.
Saurabh, on this, I have a follow-up question. So
Yeah.
when you see your multiple pages in this case, this
Yeah.
extension will have multiple page extensions? And what are the
Yes.
IDs assigned, what are the IDs assigned by to these page extensions?
So as far as I understand, what system does is it starts taking from whatever the first free ID that you have.
In the 50,000 range.
Yeah. So if we already have this 50,000 used, and if I try to create another design time extension, let's say this time we'll go to vendors, go to design mode, can add a field, let's say again name to here. And then I can also, as I said earlier, I can go to another pages, like in this case, let's say go to vendor ledger entries. And here I think that I need global dimension 1, and I place it here. So and you can always search for fields if you want. And anything that most of the thing that you can do in personalize is also possible in the design. Like set the freeze pane here, and then once you're done with that, stop designing, and I can name it as okay, and I'll say download source code. So in this case, the source code will also get downloaded, and let's go to the folder, and let's do a. So yeah, if the problem is that if you don't kind of put them into your source control, you will see that you might overlap when you are building extension for for your customer, because they might they might utilize the same object ID or the page extension ID. So like if you see now, it took 50,001 because 50,000 was already
The next
consumed,
one.
and then 50,002 here.
Okay.
Yeah, but as I said earlier, I prefer not to use it. It looks super cool while you're doing it, but if every user from your customer start doing this, then you'll end up with I don't know how many extensions on your customer tenant. You know, so just keep that in mind while you are using this feature.
Makes sense. Thanks.
Okay, sounds good. And then we have Shahid joined. Shahid, first we are taking questions because you joined late. Do you have any questions for today? And then I have something to present.
One single question actually. After 14, BC 14, developing environment is, obsolete. So how to get the file source like page source and others in 15 and others version?
File source as in?
I mean, like in developing environment in 14, like in 2009 and others version, we can get this, page, tables and everything, all objects.
Right.
So from 15 and onwards, there is no such facilities. So if I like to find maybe customer page, so where I can get that.
So there are two ways to, as in you want the object file or you want to just see what objects are there.
With the files.
Okay. So for the files, what happens, and I'll talk from the Docker perspective. You can also apply it on-prem perspective.
Yes, on-prem.
Yeah. So in on-prem, you'll go to product DVD, but in Dockers, you'll go to your PC artifact cache inside that folder, and you will see something called as extension, and in there will be, or there will be something else somewhere. Yeah, application US, and you'll see these folders: base application source. So base application contain 90% of your CAL code in AL. All these objects, so like you were saying about the customer, you'll have to find customer list. So there is no object ID that you can search for. Page.al, and you'll find this page. This is customer list page in your BC 17 in this case. Okay, so this is your customer list page. This is on Dockers. Okay, if you want to see on DVD, then like this on-prem, there's a folder called application. Inside this application, you will find all the extension. So the base objects are in base app, and there is one called system app. Okay. Inside these folders, you will find the source, which will have all the files from Microsoft. Does that make sense? Shahid?
Yes.
The other tool which is right now available for beta version for every developer right now, because there's a tool called Prism, and you can go to their website. There is a beta version of that tool which is right now available for free, which let you load your extension workspace. And once you load your extension workspace, it'll show you kind of an object designer uh, in a where you can do your where used and all those things. So like this is for one of the project that I'm working for, and it'll have all the objects. So if I want to see customer list, I can do my customer list here. And you'll see the page design in the middle. You'll see where this page has been used, which objects are using it, what are the functions inside there, what are the triggers. And if you want to see kind of a relationship somewhere, you can do a find uses, and it'll scan through all the objects and tell you where this has been used in different apps. And this is right now for beta testing, so kind of free, but there will be a paid license going forward, and we do use it inside our company right now for CAL also. This is also available for CAL. So like customer table, you want to see from where in the system somebody is inserting a record in customer other than user, user action. So you can do that in CAL and AL also using this tool. And it'll tell you all the references from where a customer is being created, because I did an insert filter. So it tells me that when on customer card that somebody calls this function called create new customer, there is a insert customer happens, and then you can again go inside that from where this function has been called. So in that way,
Good one.
these tools can help. And then if you are just relying on PS Code, then there is an extension. Where is the extension management? Okay. Object designer, AL object designer. And you can call that from here, AL object designer. And if you have a source, it will show you all the objects like legacy object designer. Does that make sense?
Yes.
So yeah, there are different ways, whichever you prefer, that you can use to achieve what you are looking for.
Thank you. Thanks.
Okay, so coming.
Yeah, Saurabh,
Yeah.
this reminds me of one question which someone asked me recently.
Mhm.
Are these NAV 4, 5, or the older versions and their hot fixes or KB knowledge base articles, which used to be there earlier, are those still available? It means I tried, those are, I think, not available on partner source or the links which used to be there. So is there a way that we can access those somewhere, somehow?
Earlier there used to be databases, but recently I had a problem, at least I guess 2-3 months ago, and I checked with Freddie, and they are still trying to work that out to make them available. But they will be just the databases and the executable for the upgrades. But I don't think that they'll go to the point of hot fixes level.
Hot fixes or KB knowledge base,
Yeah,
KBI,
those articles are kind of lost now.
those are
Okay.
so there is no way to get those.
No, anybody who has a repository of it, well and good. Otherwise, I guess there is nothing at this point. Okay. So this was a question that we had in the last week meeting, and I found things which I don't know kind of interesting, and I started kind of researching how you can actually import or export a file in your Business Central inside a blob field, as Tanya explained last week, using web services or API. So what I have done, let me see if I have my GitHub open somewhere. I have a repo, we'll kind of complete this, but I named it API, but it's actually web services. So I'll clone this and known, and let me store it somewhere. File. Okay. And I'll save it. So what I've already done is I have created a table just for the demo, and you can either use it in the base Microsoft objects or in your custom extension if required. So the design is pretty simple, and let me know anytime if the screen is smaller or if you have any screen sharing issues. There's a table API attachment which have a code and a file extension that you can give, and a blob field which will store your incoming attachment, either it's an image or it's a file or anything. And then the primary key is code. Then I have added 2 pages, one to show the list. This just shows the record that are available. And then there is a cart page because I wanted to test this first, by doing it manually, and then we'll see how to achieve it. So for that, what I've done is all of the fields are table fields, but I've added a text field and I'm named it as base 64 value. So you can actually give a value to your file, and we'll see how you can do that. And then you can store that inside Nav or Business Central. So we'll start by creating code segment for importing a file, because that's what it is. And first, let's create that procedure in our table. So let's create a procedure. And I'll name it as, let's say, attachment. And this accept that text value that is coming from the page, the text. And then let's do the basic first. If the text value is blank, then do nothing. Okay. Now, when I was searching for it after last week from Danya's question, I found out that there is a base Microsoft object which can do the base 64 conversion, and we'll understand what that means. So there is a code unit, and I guess it is base. Oh, I didn't download it symbol, so everything is an error. So let me download symbol on my local, and this is PC171 sandbox PC. Okay, symbols are downloaded. Okay, so there is actually a code unit which is base 64 convert, as you can see here in the standard Microsoft range. So let's see what this code unit can do for us. Base 64 convert, it can convert to base 64 a value that you want to convert, or it can convert from base 64 to a in-stream variable. That, so if I see from base 64, it says I'll need a text which we are inputting, and then I'll need a outstream which I'll fill in the value that comes from the conversion. So let's start using that. So first, what I'll need is the input value, which I have the text value, and then I need, as it said, a outstream. So let me create a temp outstream, type outstream. So I'll feed in this to my function. So this will convert my the base 64 value to a temp outstream. Now that conversion is done, but I actually have to kind of first initialize this outstream. So for initializing outstream, we can use the blob management, the temp blob code unit that you have. So let's do that. So my temp blob can initialize my outstream parameter. This got initialized with this, with the outstream. Now, once I have converted it in or filled it into the outstream, I actually have to key in into this field, which I have in my table of type blob. So to transfer it to the blob, the temp blob also provides you a function for that, which is, I guess, it is to record ref. If you have to pass to a particular record, then you use to record ref, which requires a record ref, the reference of the record, and the field number where you want to store that. So if I need to use this function, I'll need a record reference of this table, and the table is 50,001. So I'll create a record ref. And then I'll initialize that record, set that record ref to my particular current record, which is database, and the current table, which is attachment. So I need to pass this record ref to this, and then I need to pass the field number, which is field name, that is attachment. Okay. So this will pass it, but right now it doesn't know. It have opened the table, which is this, but this table can have multiple record. So I'll need to set this to a specific using the get table, and I'll set it to the current record. So what I've done, if the value is blank, then go back, do nothing. If the value is not blank, then initialize the record ref with the current table, open the current table with the record ref, and then set that with the current record, which is the record that we are trying to update. Once that is done, then I'm initializing my outstream, creating the outstream, and passing that to the new function that we found out.
Sorry,
Yeah,
can I interrupt?
go ahead, go ahead.
So, using record ref, can I directly use get in that instead of get table and open?
You can, let's see. I always use it in NAV. But yes, but for that you'll need a record ID, which you'll again have to build. The input is based on the record ID.
Right.
Okay. If I do a get table, then input is the. You can do either ways. You just need to point that to the current record that you want to update.
Okay.
Okay. So once I have done this, temp blob to record ref, so now the value will be passed to this field. Once I have done that, let me do my recref.set table again to rec. Okay, and then I'll close my record reference. So this should actually import that base64 to whatever that file is. Now the problem is how we will generate that base64, and let's call this function in that page that we have so that we can actually test this out. Okay, so that page is this. This is 50,001 page. So we'll go to my action area and we'll add an action and write it to convert to blob. margin area is all. Let's do the basic required parameters. Okay. Okay, and let's add an image. Okay, and let's call that function which we have just written. Already is there. That is rec.import attachment, and then we'll pass the text value that we have here, and then just a message for our confirmation. Okay. So let's publish this, and then we'll see about our base 64 conversion. So once that app gets published, I'll go back to my VS Code, stop my debugger, and let's load our page. Okay. So here is our page, which is completely empty right now. Let's create a record and let's give it a number 10, and we'll see what we are trying to attach. Now the challenge was how actually can I test it? And while I was searching for it, I found this website called Base64 Guru, which for your testing is super cool. You can do all type of conversions. So what I actually wanted is to file to a Base64. So I went to this link, and you select a file and it'll encode that file into Base64 and will give you the Base64 string here. So let's do that, and let's select, just for discussion, this file. You click on this action, and this is your Base64 code for this file. So I'll just copy this, and we'll go back to our Business Central. Let me drag it down, and I'll paste it here. And then the file was, I guess, JPG. Right now my attachment shows as blank, and we have this action that we added called convert to blob. So once I do that, the code is executed and it says attachment uploaded, and we can see the image here. So why I wanted it to do via Base64 is because Tanya's request was that they will be sending that data using either web services or API. So being a text string using Base64, you can actually pass that value, and then using the code that we have just written, you can actually convert that into actual file. So let's see, doing a text or an FOB file, how that works with that. So these are some nav or BC objects which are exported in text, and I'm encoding that. Once that's done, let's copy that, and let's create a new record. Body of type text, paste it here, and convert to blob. Now it's uploaded, but you cannot see it because it's not an image. I have added the control to have the image. So, but what we can do is we can update our extension to kind of have a similar function on the table to actually download that attachment if you want. We have seen this code, I guess, 3-4 meetings before, where we are trying to see how you download a file from Business Central. I'll not go into details, but for exporting, I'll create an in-stream. And then I'll need a file name for it. So let's export file name of type text. And then I'll initialize the export file name. And I'll do my code. And then I'll add a dot for my file extension so that I can actually open that file with the right application. As usual, we'll do our record.calc field because it's a blob field attachment. And if that record.attachment have no values, then you can if there are no values in the attachment, then you can exit that. Otherwise, you can call the attachment dot create in stream and pass your in stream variable. And then the last is download from stream, which will require in stream and what else? Dialog title, which I don't need. Next is to folder, which I cannot use in SAS. To filter, I'm not sure what kind of file is coming. And then to file is my file name. So now this will allow me to kind of download that attachment. So I'll add one more action here. And we'll call it application area is all and caption is download attachment. And I'll copy these as it is. And this action image should be export file, something like that. Export, okay. And here I'll call my export attachment. So this function will export as we talked about. Let's add this on the list page also so that we can do it either ways. Okay, let's update the extension and we'll see what file actually got imported when we import the text file. If you see, there are two records, one for JPG and one for text. The text one, which we just imported, and there should be an action to download attachment. So let's click on that. That got exported as 20.txt. That's the simple way, as in if you skip assigning file extension during import, you'll have this problem that will be unknown. So if you open it, you'll see that there are some BC14 or nav objects in this, which are still readable. So now how you use it on API or in your web services, that's just adding one more page into your extension. And I have tested it with web services. So you can then, use that, kind of publish that as web service and consume that. If anybody is interested in looking at that, let me know. I'll just add that page and we can test that also using Postman. Or do you get an idea? As in, Tanya is not here. It was her question. But if you want, I can just add this page that I had. already created in the folder. It is the API page that I added, and let's have a look quickly on that. So this is that page which I was talking about. And then right now I'm using it with web services, but you can also use that with APIs if you want, which is, and you can get all this format when you do a, let's see that, when you do a T page of type API, it'll give you the basic structure of that API page, and then you just need to add fields. What this have is the same thing, caption, and as we all know that there is a system ID field available on all tables in Business Central. So that acts as the OData key field, which identifies the unique record for API and web service interactions. And then I just added the ID field, which is a system ID, the code field from the table, the extension field that we created and seen in the page, and then a input value, which is of type, kind of text. And then while this is being validated, it's actually calling the same function which we just called and trying to create that record with that. So if I publish this and let's see the page ID, it's 50,002. We'll see that that page will get published here. And then we can just do a quick example from using Postman to see is the record actually get inserted or not. So what I'll do is I'll go to web services and we'll create a new web service for this page, which we just added. And for demo, we'll see it as, say it as PC open discussion. And I'll publish this. As soon as it gets published, I get a URL for this, which is this raw data. And when I call this, I'll see what record already exists there, which is something like this. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to call this from the Postman. So there are, this is kind of a tool that you can use to test out your APIs and web service calls. And I'm using basic authentication to connect to my tenant, which are stored here. So if I do a send, I'll see what records are already there in the database. There are 2 records with code value 10, extension this, file extension, and input value is blank because that's just for transferring that data. I'm not exporting the value. If you want, you can just call that, what was that function? So if, and Tanya sees it later, if you want to send that data out, you can actually use the same code unit and use 2base64, which will require a string. And then there are 6 overload methods. So if I click on this, I can actually see that this is just a text. And if I go next, it doesn't show me. There are 6 overloads, so that means there are different options. It says no overload, but I'm pretty sure there are multiple ways. You can pass the file and the text value that you want, and it'll fill in your value with that, and then you can pass it out if you want. Now coming back to our Postman, this was kind of getting the value out of it. Now if you want to submit the value and test that piece, let me copy this and use the post method. Now for the post method, I'll have to transfer my parameters that I want to use. So I can do that with my JSON and use all the parameters that are there, which is Let me pass this as it is. Okay. ID will be system generated, so I don't need to assign that. Then for my code, I already have 10 and 20. I'll pass it as 30. And let's assume we are also transferring the image this time. So I'll keep the extension as JPJ. And my input text, for that, I'll again have to go to that encoder, choose a file, let's say this time BC logo, convert that to 64, copy that string, and I'll paste this value between these two brackets. Once I've done that, I have keyed in what input values I needed, which are these three values. I can actually send that value and it will go back and create a record inside my Business Central tenant. So the result is that there is a new ID generated. The code is 30, extension is JPJ, but just to verify it, let's go back to our Business Central environment and go to our API attachment page. You'll see that there is a new record 30 with the image that we just selected in our Postman. So if you have to import a file using bit64 because you get a text string like this, then you can use this kind of an example to, to plug in this code into there. And if there is a requirement for export, I'll be happy. It'll not take much time to kind of utilize the other function which is available in the same this code unit called base64 convert. Because you cannot actually send a file using a web service or API call. You'll have to encode it some way so that it can be passed to your Business Central tenant. Does that make sense now?
Yes, Saurav. Saurav, I have a question on this, not exactly on this, similar to this. So we can we convert the report to base64 on run? Suppose I have an order confirmation default report. I need to convert to base64. I can do that.
You're saying the output of it?
Yes, because the purpose is to convert the report into base64.
So yes, you can actually, when you whatever the code that you're writing, you can run that report and store it into a blob, right?
Okay.
Once that get converted into a blob and stored in a table like this table, a temporary table, you can actually call this base64 and the other function
Okay.
to base64, which have 6 overload. That means there are 6 ways that you can do that with different types of parameter, and then you can convert that and pass it out if you want.
Okay. I have a code ready. I haven't tested it. So I'm putting it on the chat. You just have a look. Is it a correct thing I'm writing?
Okay, let me see. And others can see it in their chat windows also, I guess. So feel free to comment if you have anything. Ref.temblob.delete all. Here, the temp blob, you're referring to a table?
Right now I'm referring to a table. I'll convert that in code unit, but right now I have used a table.
Right, and I always prefer, and as I said last week to Shai, that always refer to the base Microsoft code, because that's kind of the best case scenario that we have. So
Right.
the example for this, that how you actually store it in a blob, is always already there in the base Microsoft code. I'll give you a hint about it, that when you run a report, you get an option to schedule it, right?
Right.
When you schedule a report, it actually comes and sits here in your report inbox, where it's stored in a blob.
Okay.
Okay, so when that report execution is completed from the job queue, it actually gets stored in this table called report inbox, which is of type blob. So then surely you'll find the best code in that place, whatever you are looking for. So anytime, let's do this, that if I'm on a customer and I'm picking a report, let's say order summary.
Saurav, if you're showing something, it's
Not visible.
I can't see it.
Okay, let me try again. I don't know why it
You
closes
still see
sometimes.
Postman on your screen.
Right.
Okay, let me know when you can see it.
Yeah, now it's order summary.
Okay, yeah. Sorry guys, I don't know why Teams does that. But let's say I'm running this report,
Yes. No, it's visible.
you always get this option to kind of send it to schedule. Once you schedule it, it asks you what type of output you want. You can choose either of those. And if you keep it blank, it will actually start executing that report in the job queue behind the scene. Once the processing of that report is over behind the scene, it will actually come and get stored here. So let's wait for a minute or so. Let's see till then what's in the job queue. So that report actually got completed. So yeah, here it is. So you see this now? So this actually getting stored in a blob field. So the code of what you're looking for to store it in a blob, you'll always should look at this place and you'll find the right code that you need to store that into a blob.
Okay. So suppose I have a schedule it and for a particular order, suppose next time again the same report I'll going to schedule. So will it overwrite or there would be a add on to it?
No, it will not be overwritten because as far as I remember, and let's check this. I don't mind doing that. There is, I guess the primary key of this table is not is a keyword, but let's try that again. If I go to customers, try running the same report, which is here, order summary, run it again for the same customer, schedule. And I'm not saying that you need to use this table to do what you're doing or what you're planning to do, but you can get the best code that you need at how Microsoft is doing it. So now if you see, there are two reports with the same name with a little
Right.
bit of different time. I'm not saying to use this table because users can also use it, right? But what I'm saying is the code, how this gets stored into this table with a blob,
Right.
will be the best place from where you can pick the code that you're just trying to send me on the chat.
Yes. 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 I'll do that.
They'll have they would have done everything to kind of do all error handling in every situation of that. So you'll get the best piece of code there. So I always refer to the base Microsoft code if I have to do something which is similar to Microsoft.
Okay.
The only thing is that you should know where that code would be.
That's the major part.
And there's the challenge.
Saurabh, I have two questions.
Yes, sir.
One is related to Postman. While doing post, you have entered one record. So
Yes.
how can we do multiple records?
You can just pass the same string below
I tried
again.
that, but I was getting error that comma is not allowed or something. Means I repeated the same set of one record. Then comma.
Let me try that.
Yeah.
This is 40. Okay. Just change the code. I'm keeping the same values.
50, same. You can copy same thing
Yeah.
and change.
So yeah,
30
I'm
or something.
here and I'm putting here as 50. And here itself, it says that there is a syntax error. It requires a comma.
They're also doing something.
Okay, so let's see. As in always, again, as I said earlier, I prefer to look in the base when I do a web services. Okay, sorry, when I do a get.
And one
what
more
happens?
question: when you're opening this web services, I'm just wondering, is this step where you are listing your published web service? Is this
Yep.
required, or we can skip it? I think it can be skipped also. So, what is the advantage of doing this?
To add this here?
Yeah.
I don't think that you can use it without this because until this.
I have used it.
Oh, then you are using APIs.
Yeah, using API.
Yeah, this
if I'm
is using web service.
API, and if I delete, even if you delete this, maybe the easier part is that it gives you URL handy.
Yes.
So that could be the part. So I was trying to understand what is the actual advantage of this. One thing which I can think of is you get the URL handy.
Yeah.
So
No,
even
but
if you delete this, then also I think this will work.
I doubt, but let's give it a try. As in, if there are anybody else have any questions, feel free. But we are just playing this right now. Okay, let me go to Postman. Let me try to call the post again. And where is the body? Here's the body. And let's try to pass one. I'll see this how you can pass to. I've tried that for sure. Okay, let me send this. And no request found with that URL. As in, I'm pretty sure you'll have to change this URL some way or the other.
One minute. It takes your company.
So this name is from the web services, which I have given to the web service that I was creating. Right?
What is there in the API? API also has
API endpoint name. Let me see.
Thing.
And I'm so bad with APIs right now. I'm still trying. So the group entity name is this.
Entity set name, and there are two things required. And one is either entity set name, and another is I think group name or something from the top. API.
Let me see this. Can I even do a get with that? Let's see that, because that will be handy if that can be. Group ID you said, right?
Group.
I don't have
API group demo.
Do you know which comes first?
It come before.
Okay.
Somewhere before company or somewhere. I think the advantage is that you get easier or simple.
Yeah, right. That's what I said. I didn't try to do the API because I'm not well at API. I'm still kind of trying that. But yeah, surely there will be a way with the API. I'm pretty sure. I don't have to create a web service just for that. Okay. Anyone else have anything?
Moving back to body 2 records, can we?
Yeah, let me search for it. I think I've done it in past while I was testing something. Okay. So it can only support one. That's weird.
No, I think that can be done, but I don't know what exactly is the separator or something. It is not accepting comma. That's for sure.
Yeah, I'll have to search for it, but I can surely come back next week maybe by searching it what it needs. But there is no examples of it, but I'll surely check that. That's for sure. So okay, I've taken a note of that. Anything else? Anybody for today?
No, Saurav.
Okay, so I hope you got something from today. This was actually for Tanya. She had this question last week. So hope she watches the recording later and she gets something out of it. So yeah, feel free to kind of add your questions for the next week. The link is updated, I guess, on the website already. And then we'll meet next week. Okay. Thank you, guys. Thanks.
Thank you, Saurav.
Thank you.
Good.
Thank you very
to
much,
see you
Saurav.
here. I keep
Yes,
watching.
thank you, Saurabh.
Thanks.
Saurav,
Yeah.
I'll send you the JSON structure on this, but on the mail ID. Will it be okay?
Yeah. That's
Okay,
okay.
I'll share. Okay.
Okay. Sounds good, man. Enjoy your weekend. Bye.
You too. Enjoy. Thank you very much.
Thanks a lot.
Thanks.